So, how do you fit into the picture as the Gaijin teacher, as the foreign teacher? Think about that question very carefully. It is true that at some schools, at the very least, everything kind of defaults if you're doing a terrible job or if you don't know what you're doing. It all defaults down to the idea that you're exotic. And if the kids like you, then yeah, maybe somewhere down the road that's going to allow them to take more of an interest in English. Um, I myself have had a number of experiences where even though I have a lot of experience teaching now, there'll be some sort of conflict about whatever decisions I was thinking of making about curriculum or even discipline. That happened recently. Um, and the feedback I got from the non-English teaching part of the staff, I have had a much more close working relationship with the English teachers, but the non-English teaching part of the staff said, number one thing for us is we want the kids to like you so that they will like English. You know what? That's not terrible. I mean, let's face it, a lot of foreign teachers either are not good at what they do, or they freak out and run home, or they lack the maturity, or they lack the experience working in a corporate environment. Um, when I say corporate environment, I mean within the context of a large business like a school. School's a business, and they cause a lot of problems. So the question always becomes, well, why are we even hiring this person? Well, it does sometimes default to, well, we want someone that the kids will respond positively to, so that over time they'll begin to like English and take sort of more of an intrinsic interest in the language. That's okay, but we can do better than that. We can do better than that. I've mentioned this in other videos already. SOUND. You have that. You have that. You know what the language is supposed to sound like. That's a big deal. You may not even think of it this way, but it is this way. Language is sound. If you look at a piece of music on a piece of paper, no one would tell you that that piece of paper is the music, would they? Same with a paragraph of English. Yes, we pass these paragraphs around and we put them inside of books and we read them quietly without speaking. But all of those letters on the page represent sound, and they derive their connection to our lives and our world because of sound. Okay, so you have that. They do not. I'll just give you one example because I am going to talk about this in other videos. Phonics is really important. You really can't teach through phonics if you don't have confidence in how the language sounds. And even excellent Japanese English teachers struggle with the difference between hot and hat. Or if they seem to kind of feel it, they don't have enough of a deep grasp so that they can really convey that to the students and install that kind of confidence in the students. You can do that because you understand sound. Okay? So here's the thing. You know how English sounds. And they are, I'm going to put it in a way that sounds unattractive. They are expert test takers. Okay, that's nothing to shake a stick at. As somebody who did not go to a good school because he was a terrible test taker, at this age, 50, having seen the opportunities available to other people, that's a good thing, okay? But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Being a good test taker is not just about whatever tricks and little techniques. Um, Being a good test taker means you're able to look analytically at the challenge in front of you and break it down. And that's what really good Japanese English teachers are able to do with the language. They are able to follow the logic of the language and convey that logic to the students so that the students can use that logic to educate themselves. That is a good thing. That is not a bad thing. Okay? So you have to see yourself as augmenting what the Japanese English teachers are doing. They are already doing something that's very valuable, not just because it'll help kids get into schools, but because it's part of being a disciplined, effective learner in general, and it's part of being able to dissect a language that they were not born into. Okay? You can make that Frankenstein stand up and walk around. You can make that monster real. Okay? That's a good thing, but you can only do it as a team player. If you come in and say, oh, this test-taking stuff is baloney, let me in here, I'm going to teach them all with sound. Oh, sure. I mean, I have my own English program here where I'm the lead teacher, but that's not the only way to teach, right? And that's not the only way to learn a language. So don't get prescriptive about different ways of teaching. Understand that different learners gravitate towards different kinds of instruction, and different kinds of instruction have strengths over other kinds of instruction. Also, I don't know about your situation. I have a master's in teaching English as a second language, so I did study grammar and I actually take a serious interest in it. But most native English speakers do not have as sophisticated a grasp of English grammar as Japanese English teachers do. This is the reality. Now, anyway, hi. But even if you do have a better grasp than some of your Japanese colleagues, and I've been doing this long enough, so sometimes that happens to me, you've got to treat them with respect. In the same respect you would expect going the other way. Oh, really? I didn't think of it that way. Because there's other stuff that they know that you don't know. They know the kids. They know the parents. They know the politics. They know how the school works. They know who gets listened to. So if you have an idea and you want to implement that idea, you have to figure out who's getting listened to, who has the decision-making power. They know this, okay? They also know the economics. They actually have a better sense of your monetary value add than you do, because they really understand how schools work better than you ever will. They're just inside of it a lot more than you are. And this one, you gotta take this and swallow it because it's the truth. If you're working inside a Japanese school, they, generally speaking, the good ones, are going places. They're going to, if they aren't already, they'll probably become homeroom teachers. And if they're good as homeroom teachers, they'll become department heads. And they might even work their way up to become, depending on the kind of school that it is, might become a headmaster. Homeroom teachers, which is a status you can achieve pretty early in your teaching career, those are pillars of the community. They have a different. This is different from definitely different from America. In America, all power, all disciplinary authority devolves to the principal, to the headmaster. Kids go to the principal's office, as you may recall, if you went to school in America. I don't know what happens in other countries. But there's a lot of power at the top in America. In Japan, that power, that disciplinary authority, is distributed amongst the homeroom teachers, right? They're pillars of the community. They deserve that level of respect. They're going places. You're going someplace else. I'm not saying you're going someplace else tomorrow. I'm not saying you can't get a hell of a lot out of this experience of collaborating with a Japanese school. But there are just some limits to how high you can climb and what kind of leverage you have. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing, or it's a bad thing if you're insisting that you want to, run the place. And some foreign teachers do come in with this idea that somehow they're the golden child that's going to, turn that institution around, not recognizing the good that's already being done. But I mean, you are moving on, so you're passing through. That means you can maybe be a little bit more honest with your opinions if you're careful about it and you're diplomatic about it and you're okay with the idea that with the notion that your ideas are less likely to be implemented than other people's ideas. You have to not be selfish with your ideas. But you are in a position where you don't have anything to protect because you're probably going to stay at this level in that institution and you'll move on to another job. And that's fine. Good. This is a positive. You were trained elsewhere. You bring a different set of training practices that were exerted upon you than was the case with your colleagues. And that does give you a certain perspective. If you're humble about it, that will bring value. So just to give one example, I went through graduate school at a time when collocations was a really hot thing. Like everyone was talking about teaching through collocations. And I was always skeptical of it because it seemed like the people who were advocating for it didn't really want to learn the grammar rules. However, it is a good concept. And from time to time, I've been able to bring that in and offer it to people as something they might not have been aware of as a concept. The nice thing about collocations is, just to give that one example, is that it's a good way to avoid translating into Japanese because words derive their meaning because of their relationship with each other within the language, not because of their relationship with words outside of the language, right? So collocations is just one more example besides synonyms or opposites. Collocations are a way to show how words relate to other words. Just to give you one example, in one of my other videos, I use the word wag. If I say the word wag, what nouns do you think of? You might think of dog. You might think of tail. You might think of finger. Wag my finger at you. All right? All of these strengthen your understanding of that noun, of that verb, wag, right? So this is an example of collocations. And I've brought that into every one of my schools. I'm not a big fan of collocations, but it happens to be something I know about that they don't know something about. And when I couple it with some other things that they're working on, for example, trying to keep the kids from translating everything into Japanese, but boom, there it is. Here's one example. If you do it with humility, you do bring value in this way. The older and older you get, you bring this value. Okay? So, be a team player. Augment your colleagues. Bye-bye.